Everything you see here is going back to the op shop. Yeah, that's right. These items have not sold, and it's that time of year. We've just come out of the end of the FY26 financial year, which is a massive time of reset. And for me, that looks like doing stock take and removing dead stock from my business, which is what you're looking at surrounding me here. So in this video, I'm actually going to break down exactly how much I'm taking out of my store to reset for FY27, and also the lessons that I'm taking from all of this as well. I think it's really important when, stuff's not selling, that you look at the reasons why it's not moving. Let's start then by taking a look at exactly how many items are here, how much stuff I'm removing from my store. There are some important things to consider about this. So that's around how I identify what's dead stock, which items I'm targeting to remove when I do my stock take, because I do combine the activities together. And generally, I target stock that has been sitting in my store for 12 months or longer. Now, that doesn't mean that every item will get the boot if it's been hanging around for more than 12 months. Some of them I'll have a bit of a look at whether I could tweak a listing, whether I still think that there's a market there for that item. I'll do a little bit of research. But generally, if it's more than 12 months old, it's gone back to the op shop. I also do try really hard in the lead up to end of financial year to turn those items over for less money than I guess I would originally have listed them for. So I do things like revising prices and dropping them. I run last chance auctions, which I've talked about previously on this channel and also on the podcast with Liv. So for the 3 months in the lead up to June, I was running auctions regularly, and I did manage to clear a fair bit of stock at a low cost just to get it out of my store. So what you're looking at is what's left over from that activity, which you can see is quite a bit. And then a couple of these items, not many, but a few of them, are just from bad buys throughout the year. So they might be less than 12 months old, but for example, they may have had flaws like that I missed when I was thrifting that were just beyond my capability to repair. So that brings me to how many items I am removing this year. 91 items. That is almost 30% of the size of my store. Typically, I have anywhere between 270 to about 330 active listings. It kind of fluctuates throughout the year. I'm a very small time store. Like, I don't try to have a huge volume of listings. I try more to focus on things that are going to move quickly through my store so that I'm not seeing that bloat, carrying over and lots of stuff. But it does happen, 91 items is not insignificant when you're looking at a small store like mine. In terms of how much this all cost me, it's about $1,300. It's $1,295 was my buy-in for all of this. So to put that in context, for the FY26 financial year, I spent a total of $11,746 on new inventory coming into my store. So again, proportionately, you can see that this is not insignificant. This is about 10% of my operating budget for new inventory in a 12-month period. And now you might ask, am I not concerned about that? At 10% of my inventory budget, why wouldn't I try harder to sell these things? And for me, it's a bit of that sunk cost fallacy. So, that belief that if you've spent money on something but it's not giving you value, you should continue doing it because you've spent the money. Well, there are other things you can gain by taking a step back or moving away from things that are just not serving you, regardless of how much money you've invested. There's things like in life, you could get time back. For me, it's about freeing up storage space for new things in my store. So let me give you a bit of context from that almost $12,000 that I spent on new stock in the FY26 financial year, what that has actually gone on to earn me and why I'm quite comfortable taking out this sort of value from my store. So from that new stock that I bought for $12,000-ish in FY26, that stock has already generated $38,000 worth of revenue for me. So that is stock that's up to 12 months old has generated $38,000. My total revenue was $51,000. So stock that's older than 12 months in my store generated another $13,000. So you can see that there's already been a lot of heavy lifting done. The heavy lifting for my revenue at least is done by stock that's less than 12 months old, and that stock that's older than 12 months might make up a little bit of the difference. And some of that will come down to activity, you know, like sell similar, like auctions and that sort of thing. But when I look at it this way, I actually see it as more of an opportunity to grow my business by removing stock that's stale and looking for those items that are fresh, that are current, that are in demand now, that are going to continue to grow that return on investment within the first 12 months. So I hope that makes sense. I have tried to make that easy to conceptualize, but if you have any questions about that, pop them in the comments. For me, it's very much about having an investment mindset by, you know, understanding that there's a certain level of risk with any investment, and that includes investing in stock. 100% sell through, I just don't think is realistic within the time frames that I'm looking to move items on within that 12-month period. So I know that there's always going to be a percentage of my stock that has to be moved on. And if it's only 10% of my budget for the 12 months, that's a risk that I'm happy to accept. So now that I've broken down how much I'm removing, let's have a look at some of the lessons that I'm taking from this exercise this year. And this one is surprising for me. So Witchery is actually currently one of my top 10 selling brands. I measure that for the past quarter, the past 3 months. But it is also the one brand that I am removing the most items of from my store. So I've got 6 items here from Witchery that will be going back to the op shop. The most surprising for me is that half of these 3, are all size 14 dresses. Size 14 is generally a pretty good seller for me. So let's see if I can figure out why maybe these ones didn't sell. All right, let's take a look at this one. And this dress I actually have accepted offers on previously, but they just weren't paid. So why I bought it in the first place was kind of just the overall, everything it had going on. The shirring, the print, and the sleeves mostly. I was a bit dubious. This is a drop hem dress, which can look a bit funny on some people. So I think from memory, and I have had this for almost 2 years, so I'm stretching here. I think from memory I picked it up for those things. I think those things are also the reason that it didn't sell. I feel like this is needing a certain someone to feel confident to wear. I think it's also polyester. Yeah, it's polyester. I try to steer clear of synthetic fabrics, so that almost also may have contributed, because it might just be that someone doesn't like polyester dresses, which is totally fair because I don't like polyester clothes either. And then we have this one. This is a natural fiber dress. And again, this has been hanging around my store for probably closer to the 2-year mark. So it would have made it through my cull last year and it just still didn't sell. I think it's the beige, because everything else about this, if this were, say, a black dress, I'd pick this up now. I would not pick up this beige anymore. But it is, like I said, it's Witchery in a size 14, 100% linen, very, very stretchy, so it would be very comfortable. I think it has pockets. No pockets, but yeah, 100% linen, midi length. So my guess is the colour. Dresses in this colour I won't buy. Pants and skirts in this colour I will buy. So lesson learned from this one. And last of all, this isn't a Witchery dress. I've pulled the wrong one. This is Worthier, and that's why this didn't sell. It's a boutique brand, but it's got a slower sell through. I don't know where my third Witchery size 14 dress is, so let's chalk that one up to those 2 didn't sell for those other reasons. The other brand lesson, not that I'm learning, but that I'm reinforcing for myself, is that review just isn't what it used to be. When I started reselling in 2018, you used to be able to buy just about any review dress particularly the prom styles. I think I've spoken about this before, and they would sell quickly for good money. It's just not the case anymore. 5 of the items that I'm removing from my store are review. Most of them are dresses. There are a couple of skirts in here as well, but let's see if we can figure out what it was about these ones that didn't sell. So I'm going to start with the 2 skirts, and I thought I was onto a sure thing when I bought these. I'm pretty sure I actually bought them together, and I think they'll be over the 12-month mark, maybe more the 18-month mark now that they've been hanging around my store. So size 12, nice chambray midi length. You know, I really don't know. I really don't know with this one. This is something that if I saw at the moment, I'd probably be inclined to buy it from memory. I think this is also, it's feeling like a linen blend, which would have been in my listing title. Yeah, it's a linen viscose blend. It's really lovely. I could not tell you, but I have to learn the lesson that maybe it is just down to the brand. And then the other one, I believe this is also another linen blend. It's feeling like a linen blend. It's size 14. Has its belt, nice white pleated skirt. I think it's actually because it's white. White's a colour that just does not seem to move for me. Lyocell linen. Yeah, it's a linen blend. Yeah, I think it's going to be the colour and the brand, probably, would be my best guess for this one. And then I've got 3 dresses. I'm going to start with this one because I do think this is just one of those basic styles that is not really in demand anymore. Why I picked it up, personally, I like these styles. I love the colorway, the plaid with the yellow. It is a size 14, oh sorry, a 16 as well, but for whatever reason, just no one wanted this one. This is definitely something that is really a bit basic for Q now. I wouldn't pick this up if I were seeing this in an op shop today. This one was surprising though. This is the Sophia Ponte dress. It's a zip front, full zip? Yeah, full zip. Really, really stunning green. I believe in a plus size. The size tag had been removed. I provide measurements in all of my listings. So I think this would have been about an 18 just based on the sizing on the review website. Got nice pockets. These style of review dresses in the Ponte, like the thicker stretchy fabric, are actually the ones that I find typically move through my store. I thought I was onto a good thing with this one. I think possibly what let me down were the size tag not being available, so maybe impact to buyer confidence there, but also my photos on this one, it just didn't translate as nicely as it could have, and it's probably due to a couple of things. Maybe a bit of laziness on my part, like could I maybe take some fresh photos and sell her? Yes, but it's time to let go. But also I use a size 6 mannequin, and the reason is everything fits on it. I try to pin things, but sometimes when there's just a disparity like this, so from a size 6 to a potentially 18, it's tough to make items look their best. So I do try my hardest, but let me down, I think, on this one. And again, this one's probably a special mention. This dress is really, really lovely. This is the Rose Adagio dress. It's in this stunning print, really, really gorgeous styling. It's got the square neckline. It's got, you know, some really nice seam detailing, almost like corset-like at the front here. Does it have pockets? It has pockets. It's in a linen blend fabric. The length, I am dead confident that the reason this one didn't sell is because of the size. It is a size 8. I remember being conflicted about buying it because of the size initially, and I think I made the wrong choice. If I saw this today in an op shop in, say, like a size 12 to 16, I would buy this. This is a review style I would buy in a larger size. So lesson learned again, smaller sizes. It's a lesson I have to keep reminding myself. Smaller sizes are risky. Sometimes they sell quickly. Largely, for me, 6s and 8s just hang around. So she's back to the op shop to find someone else to love her. The next lesson I'm learning is a bit of a brand combo. 2 brands that used to sell really, really well for me, really quickly, and for really good money. But I think the market has just changed for these, unfortunately. And those brands are Sasha Drake and Lena Broughton, or Lena and Fleur. So across those two brands, that's another 7 items coming out of my store. I'm not going to go through these ones individually. I'll show you one of each. So this is Sasha Drake. I actually thought this was kind of cool for Sasha Drake. I liked the colors, the print. It's got its belt, nice cowl neckline. This is really, really typical kind of the brand. Soft, stretchy jersey fabric, you know, a bit more like officey, not super corporate, but you could do office or drinks in this one. So yeah, really, really kind of typical of the brand. And then Lena Broughton is very, very similar to Sasha Drake. So this one, again, like more officey vibes to evening, stretchy fabric, this lovely ruching design. So these I used to get really excited to see in op shops, not so much anymore. What I'm removing are kind of the core size range, 12s to 16s that I would normally sell in my store. I still have a couple of Lena Broughton dresses in plus sizes, like 20 and up. I find that they move, although a lot slower than they used to. But for these two brands, I'm definitely going to be thinking twice and probably a third time, and hopefully trusting myself to make the decision just not to buy them anymore, because I do not want them cluttering up my store. We're going to move on to shoes. I have 10 pairs of shoes that I'm removing from my store this year, which is, I think, the most I've ever taken out. I've reclaimed a lot of storage, which is fantastic, but there's definitely some lessons that I am learning from what I'm removing. So the first one is that heels, these type of heels particularly, like courts, just not a fit for my store. These ones actually did sell via offer and then were never paid. Yeah, just not a style I should be picking up. These Joe Mercers, really like stunning, also had a lot of like watches, a lot of interest, but just never sold. So yeah, anything that looks like this is not coming back into my store, because my store is where these shoes come to die. And same goes for Rolly Derbies. Rolly Derbies used to be super in demand. They used to sell quickly, again for good money. They're just not anymore. So I have had good luck recently selling Rolly sneakers, Rolly sandals, just not these derby styles. So if I see them, I gotta learn, I gotta leave them behind. And lastly, I'm reaffirming that I'm just not a vintage seller anymore. I have 4 vintage items going out of my store this year, and it's hard for me because I love vintage. I love like buying it for myself. I love wearing it. I find it really hard when I find something that's vintage and just super fun to leave it behind. But I believe these were the last remaining vintage items in my store, and they've all got to go. They're just not selling. So let's take a bit of a look. I think most of these are jackets, which that tracks. I love a vintage jacket. I live in Queensland. I live in like the Ipswich region, so it's like, you know, usually a couple of degrees hotter than Brisbane, and I have a wardrobe full of vintage jackets that I just don't get to wear, but I can't bear to part with. So see how we go with these. And there is a pair of pants in here as well, so let's take a look. I am starting with the pants. These are so cool. If these were my size, they would not have made it to my store. They're penny black, which I think from memory when I looked it up is like an offshoot of Max Mara, possibly. These would be an 80s, looking at the label, looking at the fabric. They are wool, and they're just so cool. So cool. But again, I think, you know, aside from vintage just being slower than when I started reselling, they are a very small size too. So I think combination of those things, unfortunately, just didn't sell. They did have a lot of watches and a lot of interest, but just no luck moving them out of my store. And then we have Katie's vintage. Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun to find these, but alas, this one didn't sell. Again, 80s, this one. Just look at the pattern, look at the colors. Like, who would not probably would not want this, but I got to learn the lesson. It is going to be hard, but I've just got to leave them behind. And I also have not one, but two vintage sportscraft jackets. Both of these are like a total vibe. I love a vintage sportscraft find. They are such great quality, Australian made, beautiful fabrics and like stunning designs often, but it's just not moving at the moment. Yeah, this one's so fun. Like, the black and the red contrast. I'm so sad that this one didn't find a new home. This one as well. This one I absolutely adore. I know I bought this one when Liv and I went to Sydney. I think I bought them both in the Sydney trip, which was May last year. So you can see both of these around for more than 12 months, but how did they not sell? How? I do not understand it. So cute, stunning quality, beautiful wool fabric, both of them. I don't know. Vintage. I'm putting it down to that they are vintage, and vintage just doesn't sell for me. So they're the key lessons that I'm learning from the stock that I'm taking out. They're the key trends that I saw when I pulled the stock and did a little bit of digging into like what's not working. Some other lessons, Princess Highway Dangerfield, again, bit of that coming out. Jeans, a few pairs of jeans that have been removed. So I think it's really, really important when you're taking stuff out of your store that you are questioning what it is that's coming out, why it is that those items aren't selling, so that you can make better decisions when you're buying new stock. You can look for those opportunities to pick up things that are going to sell and are going to make you some good money. So what now? All of these items have been removed from my inventory, which is fantastic. It actually freed up like the whole bottom row of my inventory system. So perfect, more space for growth in FY27. I've also taken them down from all of the platforms that I sell on. So tedious task, but really, really important. I do not want one of these items to sell once it's gone from my store. I don't want to have to cancel an order because I can't fulfill it. And now they're going to go back to an op shop. Reverse thrift haul. They've got to go back. I typically will try to take a bag or two with me when I go to different areas, just so I'm not like, cluttering up the areas that I regularly thrift with all of the stuff that I've just donated. It has happened to me before where I've forgotten that I've donated an item to a particular op shop and I'm pretty sure I've bought it back. So I want to avoid that where possible. I'll share the love. They're all good quality. There's nothing in there that's going to make them not resaleable. Unfortunately, they just didn't sell for me. So hopefully when they go back to an op shop, someone else is going to find that item and love it and give it a new home. I think the key thing to understand is that dead stock absolutely does not mean failure. It's just an opportunity to learn what's not working in your store and make better buying decisions in future. If you would like to kind of learn a little bit more or listen to a more in-depth conversation around avoiding dead stock or trying to, mitigate or minimize the dead stock that you have in your store, Liv and I had a great conversation around this on Flip and Tell podcast. I'll share that episode here and I recommend you check it out. But for now, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like content about thrifting items and flipping them online in Australia, please subscribe to my channel. I'm bringing out new videos regularly and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.